Dear students, we have reached the last session of this chapter and I am proceeding from page number 33, paragraph number 3. Let me read the portion. Suppose then that we tried to state Mr. Trilling's point not in terms of the efforts of the artist, but in terms of the structure of the work itself. Cleanth had referred to Lionel Trilling's essay and what Lionel Trilling talks about the different authors and their efforts in their work. So from that, what Brooks is trying to say is the importance of the structure of the work itself. The importance is given to the work as such, not to the author or to the reader or to the critic. Should we not get something very like the terms used by the formalist critics? A description in terms of tensions, of symbolic development, of ironies and their resolution? In short, is not the formalist critic trying to describe in terms of the dynamic form of the work itself how the recalcitrancy of the material is acknowledged and dealt with? So these are the three questions asked by Cleanth in this paragraph. And all these questions, they have the answer within themselves. The first one is, should we not get something very like the terms used by the formalist critics? Yes, by analyzing Lionel Trilling, we have got certain ideas as propounded by the formalist critics. Yes, we have got it. Another question is regarding the symbolic language and the treatment of tension in a work of art as put forward by the formalist critics. That also we see in Lionel Trilling's discussion about various authors. A description in terms of tensions of symbolic development, of ironies and their resolution? Yes, we got such an idea also from the works of Lionel Trilling. The third question, it is something related with the recalcitrancy. I have already explained to you that term. What is the meaning of it? The ungovernable aspects of life. The recalcitrant stuff of life. It is with that all the literary works are associated with. He asks, in short, is not the formalist critic trying to describe in terms of the dynamic form of the work itself how the recalcitrancy of the material is acknowledged and dealt with? The answer is yes. The formalist critic is trying to express or concentrate on that ungovernable stuff of human life which is dealt with in the various texts. Now we are moving to the next paragraph. Trilling's definition of ideas makes it clear, makes it still easier to accommodate my position to his. I have already quoted a passage in which he repudiates the notion that one has to show how recognizable ideas are used in the work or new ideas are produced by the work. He goes on to write, all that we need to do is account for a certain aesthetic effect as being in some important part achieved by a mental process which is not different from the process by which discursive ideas are conceived and which is to be judged by some of the criteria by which an idea is judged. So in this paragraph, Cleanth is again quoting Lionel Trilling. What he has to talk about ideas that is discussed in a work of art. There is a quotation from Lionel Trilling. All that we need to do is account for a certain aesthetic effect. We have already discussed what is aestheticism. You can go to the glossary, page number 35. I am reading the definition of aestheticism again. What is aestheticism? Acceptance of artistic beauty and taste as the fundamental standard or value. Excessive devotion to art. That is aestheticism. So we are concentrating on the beauty of the text, the beauty of the art. That is the aesthetic beauty. And Lionel Trilling says, all that we need to do is account for a certain aesthetic effect as being in some important part achieved by a mental process which is not different from the process by which discursive ideas are conceived. What is the meaning of discursive? Page number 36, the last entry. Discursive meaning relating to discourse or modes of discourse. Relating to discourse. What is a discourse? Discourse is a written or spoken communication or debate. So discursive meaning related to a communication, whether it is written or spoken. Okay, so what is here? Certain aesthetic effect as being in some important part achieved by a mental process which is not different from the process by which discursive ideas are conceived. A work of art is a discourse. Okay, it is a communication from the part of the author. It is a written communication from the part of the author. And ideas are conceived in that discourse. And when a reader or a critic reads that particular work of art, he reaches very close to the mental process in which those ideas are conceived, and which is to be judged by some of the criteria by which an idea is judged. And a literary critic can easily judge how far the author is able to understand, or the author is able to bring forth that particular idea that was there in his mind at the time of its conception in his mind. One would have to look far to find a critic formal enough to object to this. What some of us have been at pains to insist upon is that literature does not simply exemplify ideas or produce ideas, as Trilling acknowledges. A very important statement, underline that. Cleanth, by quoting Trilling, is trying to underline this aspect. What is it? Literature does not simply exemplify ideas or produce ideas. But no one claims that the writer is an inspired idiot. He uses his mind and his reader ought to use his in the processes not different from the process by which discursive ideas are conceived. So if an idea has to be revealed, an author has to get involved with his own text, and also in the process of reading, the reader also has to get involved in that with that text. Literature is not inimical to ideas. What is the meaning of inimical? Inimical means harmful. It thrives upon ideas, but it does not present ideas aptly and neatly. That is a specialty. In literature, there are great ideas, but those ideas, they have to be revealed through different sorts of reading, rereading, and interpretation and reinterpretation. Only then all those ideas will be revealed to the readers or the critics. It will not come very explicitly. A work of art cannot produce its ideas in its own manner. It thrives upon ideas. A work of art thrives upon ideas, but it does not present ideas aptly and neatly. It involves them with the recalcitrant stuff of life. The literary critic's job is to deal with that involvement. So this is the role of the literary critic, to make the ideas get revealed from a work of art, from the recalcitrant stuff of life. The literary critic's job is to deal with that involvement. We are moving to the final paragraph of our text. The mention of Faulkner invites a closing comment upon the critic's specific job. As I have described it, it may seem so modest that one could take its performance for granted. But consider the misreadings of Faulkner's now current, some of them the works of the most brilliant critics that we have, some of them quite wrong-headed and demonstrably so. What is true of Faulkner is only less true of many other authors, including many writers of the past. Literature has many uses, and critics propose new uses, some of them exciting and spectacular, but all the multiform uses to which literature can be put rest finally upon our knowing what a given work means. That knowledge is basic. This is how Cleanth Brooks ends his essay. That knowledge is basic. Which knowledge? We must understand what is the meaning that we get when we read a work of art. What does it mean? And that meaning is the primary meaning of the text. All other associations either with the author or with the reader or the critic, they are all something different from what the text speaks from itself. So in this paragraph, he again speaks about Faulkner. In this paragraph, he again speaks about Faulkner. The mention of Faulkner invites a closing comment upon the critic's specific job. So in the previous paragraph, he has already given us what is the main duty of the critic. That is to get involved, to reveal the recalcitrant stuff of life. As I have described it, it may seem so modest that one could take its performance for granted. But consider the misreadings of Faulkner's now current. What is the meaning? Contemporary. Current means contemporary. Some of them, the works of the most brilliant critics that we have, some of them quite wrong-headed and demonstrably so. So even a great writer like William Faulkner is getting criticized in different ways. Some of them are very valuable criticisms, and some of them they tend to turn in a different direction also. So this happens when we discuss the various criticisms related to different writers. What is true of Faulkner is only less true of many other authors, including many writers of the past. And he concludes his essay saying that literature has many uses. There is no one particular meaning to one particular text, or there is no one particular use with a one particular poem. Literature has many uses, and critics propose new uses. The critic's duty is to propose new uses or new meanings of a literary text, some of them exciting and spectacular. But all the multiform uses, multiform refers to various forms or various ways and approaches, all various forms of uses to which literature can be put rest finally upon our knowing what a given work means. So whatever be the different uses proposed by the critics, all those rely upon the basic understanding of reading of a text. That is, our knowing what a given work means. And that knowledge is basic. With this short statement, Cleanth Brooks concludes his essay. So I too conclude my discussion on this essay here. Thank you.